creature.
Pickle.
Tonight, my dear Pinky, our plan is unfurled. We'll steal Santa's sleigh and take over the world.
Pierce, what are you doing here?
How about you answer that question? What the hell is this little tea party?
We're playing Dungeons and Dragons.
First of all,
my name is Bing Bong the Archer. I'm an archer and such.
Ew, Hector the Well-Endowed? I bet.
I didn't know you just grabbed one at random. I made that one with Troy in mind.
Yeah, I bet you did.
The hooded cultists chant. Hail, Lord Vecna. Hail, Lord Vecna. They turn to you. Remove their hoods.
Hey guys, what's going on? You are listening to ThisWeekInGeek.net Holiday Gift Guide. But for tabletop role-playing games. My name is Mike the Birdman, and welcome to what I hope to be doing many more of these in the future. Kind of got the idea when I started doing some of my back-to-school stuff, and I'm a game master at my friendly local game store, The Dragon, here in Guelph, and I have had conversations with some of my players about, what do you do for Christmas? And I got to thinking, you know what? I know people. People like me. So I decided to reach out and ask some very awesome people in the tabletop role-playing industry, hey, what can we possibly do? And fortunately, I had a lot of people I've worked with before in the past, and I've had some new people to me come on out and offer up some really cool new products for us to talk about today. So what we're going to be doing today is talking about, just a lot of new games, accessories, and fun things. Some of these I may have covered earlier in the year. Some of these things may be entirely new to me. I should mention I haven't had a chance to play all of these just because I'm primarily running Dungeons and Dragons. I might have the odd game of another system here and there, but I've done a lot of research on these. I've read them. And everything I'm going to talk about today, I definitely recommend in one capacity or another. So to everybody who has participated in helping us put this together, I send my honest and sincere thanks to you. Without your support and help, this would not be possible. But anything I'm recommending today, I give you my wholehearted opinion that I really like it. And it's something that I think you should definitely check out. So to give you guys a little bit of background, I've been involved in the tabletop RPG industry as a reviewer for probably since 2014 for sure. Basically, we started getting into Dungeons and Dragons content a lot more heavily in the last 10 years. And I've been working pretty closely with Wizards of the Coast, and then I started freelancing with Modiphius for Star Trek Adventures with 2 books to my name, which I'm not going to be talking about today. But if you want to pick them up, that'd be pretty cool. I write for Star Trek Adventures 2nd edition. I've worked on the core rule book. I wrote a majority of the sidebars, from what I can tell. And I also worked on the 23rd Century Campaign Guide, which is currently available as a PDF, and the physical copy should be coming sometime next month. So when I started putting this together, I started looking at, what are some of the really cool things that I can talk about today? There's tons of box sets I can talk about. There's accessories, there's dice, there's sort of lifestyle products. And I'm also going to mention that Alex is going to jump in with some suggestions for some board games as well. So once we go through our box set picks for the year, I'll be throwing to Alex. And when I come back from that, we'll talk about stocking stuffers and all sorts of other things. So let's kind of kick things off with my box set recommendations for this holiday season. And our first pick comes to us from Wizards of the Coast, and this is the Dungeons and Dragons Welcome to the Hellfire Club box set. This is very much a tie-in to Stranger Things. As of this recording, Stranger Things Season 5, Volume 1 has just concluded. Don't worry, no spoilers here. And the artwork is very much based upon the Season 4 character of Eddie Munson. And, the Hellfire Club that was around Hawkins, sorry. And it's a really well done box set. Maybe not as high quality in some regards to the starter set, because the starter set this year, Heroes of the Borderlands, just had a lot of stuff in it. But the Hellfire Club box set does have the new DM screen that when I start game mastering again in person at my friendly local game store, that'll be the GM screen that I bring with me. I was just tremendously impressed with it. I think it looks really nice. And the adventures I think are really well written. You also get to play as different characters from Stranger Things. Like you get like Erica, I think she's like a rogue or something like that. You get like Will the Wise. And they're all like level 1, level 2, level 3. So you get 3 separate adventures, lots of maps and handouts, dice and everything. It's pretty well done. I'm actually very impressed with it. I think the quality on it is astounding. And I do think it's a better box set, especially because of the adventures, because you're actually getting adventures, not just here's a sandbox, go play in it with a couple of monsters. No, you're getting some pretty cool stuff and some really interesting ideas for adventures that I'm definitely going to steal and scale up for a future campaign that I'm going to run with my groups at the friendly local game store. So I will be channeling my own Hellfire Club with this. I think it's tremendously cool. It is definitely the first box set that I recommend this holiday season. This next box set is something that I actually did an interview earlier this year with the folks over at Free League Publishing. And this was a Kickstarter that I actually backed myself, but I was also sent a review copy as well. And this is going to be the Aliens Evolved Edition starter set. So this is a update to the rules. I wouldn't call it a second edition. I'd call it a 1.5, sort of like Pathfinder is kind of joked as, D&D 3.5 or 3.75. D&D 3.5 if it worked. It changes how some of the combat rules work, how armor works, stuff like that. Makes things go a lot easier. Changes how stress and panic works. There's a whole sheet on what's been changed. Converting characters over isn't too hard. And again, Free League has very rarely made an inferior product. And especially now that we've had Alien Romulus in the last year or so, we have had Alien Earth Season 1 with Noah Hawley and a confirmed Season 2, and Predator Badlands out in theaters just recently. It's a good time to be a fan of space horror, and Free League Publishing, I think, has done an outstanding job in really bringing people into the franchise of Aliens. And like any good starter set, it gets you right into the action. And again, just with great writing, if you want to use minis, which is now kind of a thing that you can do with this game, it's not my jam, but you can definitely do it. Again, just having the Aliens Evolved Edition starter set, if someone is really feeling the Alien hype train right now, being a game mother is really easy and accessible for this. And I do want to point this out. There is a website you can use, and it's called Demiplane, and you can actually purchase the books and make characters with this. These guys recently just had their own Cyber Monday sale. Not available right now, but you can have a character builder there as well and store them and have all your books and everything. This is available at most retailers right now, but you can go to the website listed in this episode post and you can pick that up. Like I said, the Aliens game has been one of my favorites over the entirety of RPGs. I never thought it would be redone properly. There was an older game that came out in like the late 1980s, and people have homebrewed D&D monsters into their games before. I've done it with my group at the Dragon, and they certainly didn't expect a black dragon xenomorph queen or a orcish hybrid monster to come out of the walls out of them. Really good time. Now, this next one is something I'm going to admit is completely new to me. However, what makes it a recommendation, it's the fandom. surrounding this. And if you're familiar with the podcast called Welcome to NightVale, well, they did a Kickstarter a while ago, and now they have their own TTRPG box set from Renegade Game Studios, the same guys who do the Essence 20 system. So that's like Power Rangers, Transformers, G.I. Joe, My Little Pony. But they also do the new World of Darkness, which we're going to talk about those games a little bit later as well. And what makes the Welcome to NightVale set really stand out is you get an amazing box. You get a visitor's guide, which is all the weird locations in NightVale, a player's book, a host book, an adventure. I think it's called The Incident at Skeleton Gorge. You get these awesome fold-out character sheets. And they're really weird. You get to play a 4-headed dragon that each different head practices a different area of law. So that's weird. You can play a giant, or not even a giant, like a talking scorpion, or there's a tarantula, or, you know, don't go to the dog park and don't you dare look at the people inside the dog park. If you want, you can go to the cat park instead. NightVale is a remarkably weird fandom, and I've had it referenced with other podcasts that I've worked with. I used to work with a girl named Kat over from Nerd to the Third Power, and she would talk about NightVale. My friend Darla has talked about it before in the past, and the reason I like it, because I could see a really passionate group, a host, if you will, putting together an outstandingly weird and bizarre game for people. And the Essence 20 ladder system, I've always been a really big fan of. Once you get the hang of it, it is really, really fast. I've taught it at several conventions for Transformers, and it's worked out pretty well. I honestly really enjoy it. And you also get a really nice set of dice. You get like a NightVale set of dice. You get like the coin for your D2 all the way up to your D12s or 20s, I want to say. This nice, awesome purple. You get a Game Master screen. Seriously, the Welcome to NightVale set honestly surprised me. And when Renegade Game Studios sent this over to me, I did not know what to expect. But honestly, it's got me interested enough that I'm willing to check out the podcast. And that kind of says something to me. So Welcome to NightVale, the role-playing game from Renegade Game Studios, is an outstanding addition to your role-playing game collection this holiday season. And odds are fans of the RPG, or fans of the show, may not even know this exists. So imagine their joy and surprise when the glow cloud shows up in their living room on Christmas morning. The next one is something, again, coming to us from Renegade Game Studios. And I've got some friends that I have in my private role-playing game life that I always play D&D with on Mondays or Tuesdays. And my friend Nick is a ridiculous Lord of the Rings fan. Like, so much so, I learned stuff about the Silmarillion. I've learned stuff about, you know, the Third Age and the Flame of Andor and all this ridiculous stuff. I'm just throwing words out. And Free League Publishing got the reboot of Lord of the Rings role-playing. They have two ones under there. There is the Lord of the Rings role-playing system, which is basically 5th edition with a Lord of the Rings skin, but it's less powerful and more deadly, so it feels more in vibe with that world. But they put out a new starter set, and it's using the One Ring rules, and it's called Overhill and Underhill for the One Ring. So that's going to be the starter set I'm going to recommend. And I always judge a starter set by how easy is it to learn the rules. From the One Ring, it's pretty easy. And how well does it work with something else, like, say, the Adventure? And I really, really like it, honestly. The Adventure has you fighting this giant she-wolf warg, which is pretty cool. You run into Aragorn's mom. And it even gives you plot points where if you want to continue beyond the box set, it's like, hey, now you have defeated the giant she-wolf of whatever. And if you want to do this more, here's the rest of the books. And honestly, the books for the One Ring it's kind of what made me want to do a holiday special. You're hopefully going to hear over the next couple of weeks as we take some time off here on TWIG, and I'm going to be talking about Lord of the Rings. So honestly, if not for Free League, I probably wouldn't be talking about this. So I think the One Ring starter set is outstanding. It comes with maps. It comes with the adventure booklets, a bunch of pre-made characters. There's like 5 of them. And it tells you how to balance encounters. But the thing that I like about specifically the One Ring starter set over the starter set you get for the One Ring, for the Lord of the Rings starter set, the dice. The dice look awesome. They feel almost like they're carved out of bone, or they have this weird, like, ancient feel to them. And I don't know, maybe I'm looking too far into this. Maybe I've hung out with Radagast the Brown too often, but it's neat. It's honestly cool. I really think the One Ring starter set from Free League Publishing will help set you off towards the misty mountains of Middle-earth. I really think you're going to enjoy it. So we're going to take a small break here on the show, and Alex is going to give his choices for our tabletop role-playing game holiday gift guide here. So we will be back right after Alex's picks.
Hey everybody,
and then
Alex
I've got
the
some more
Producer
stocking
here, and
stuffers,
this
some
is
source
my
books,
little
and all
segment
sorts of
in
shenanigans
Birdman's
that you should be
tabletop
checking
and
out
board
right
game
here
and
on This Week.
basically away from the screen special that we're doing. He had suggested, hey, I've got a lot of books and RPGs to go over. Can I just put out a special that's complimentary to the regular gift guide as a tabletop gift guide? And I said, oh, of course, dude, let's do that. And then I went, wait a minute. I have, been talking on this show over the last several months. We've talked about Asmodee. We get sent a lot of board games from them. And I thought, you know what? Let's put a bunch of the most recent ones together, and I'll do a quick little overview on some of these ones that you might want to consider for gifts for the whole family, or for kids, or for basically anybody. This is the best show to put this in, because this is, the imagination, the collaboration, the in-person gift guide that we're doing, the little one. And some of these things obviously will make it onto our regular gift guide, but I said, can I have a few minutes just to go over a few of them? And Birdman said, yep, sure. Let's put together a little side story to his own little thing that he's got going on. So these are all sent to me by Asmodee. These are all things ranging in ages and player sizes and everything. So we're going to go pretty rapid fire into this. We'll probably do some more deep dive stuff as the year goes on, or into the new year, or as our family gathers for the holidays. So the first is TWIG. This is a game that is for 3 to 6 players, recommended ages 8+, and it takes about a half hour, maybe a little bit longer to play. And it's a drawing game where you can win without knowing how to draw. That is what they market it as. And in the game, how it's played is one player describes a picture while everyone else tries to draw it. But there's more to it than you'd think. Without giving too much away, it requires a bunch of, basically the more funny and interactive that you want to be, the more you can really have fun as a collective group. What's included is 120 artwork cards, 6 pencils, 1 pad of drawing sheets, 1 pad of scorecards, and 1 90-second hourglass. So it's actually a fairly simple setup. Anybody can do it. You have an imagination, go ahead and do it. And that's something away from the screen that the family can do together in a fairly quick, family game night sort of thing. We also have Exploding Kittens, the board game. Exploding Kittens, obviously, something that's been very popular for more than a decade now, easily. And this is for 2 to 6 players, ages 7+. Again, 15 to 30 minutes or so for play. So it is the board game version of what was the traditional card game. And it says here, play cards, jump ahead, be the first to cross the finish line. It's one of the best-selling card games of all time. Obviously, it's now a board game. So it is a game that requires a little bit of strategy, but what you get in the box is you get the board, 64 action cards, 21 movement discs, 6 characters, and 1 guide. Now, with this, you flip the 3D game board to basically sabotage the other players. You set traps. You basically every step that you take in this game can be used against the people around you, and it's a pretty good adaptation of the card game into a more traditional board game style. Something I think a lot of people would like, and it says ages 7+. It's somewhere in the teens is probably where you're going to find the most enjoyment, but still. Then we also have one here called Ink. It invites you to play, to deploy your talent by creating sumptuous paintings worthy of the greatest collections. When art meets strategy, Ink follows as a river. So this is for 1 to 4 players, ages 8+. This one takes closer to an hour to play. It's a colorful game that basically there's a simple mechanic involved in here. You discover multiple effects of different combos within the game. It's hard to describe without actually sitting down to play it. You get 5 starting tiles, 95 ink tiles, 100 colored ink bottles, 15 black ink bottles, 10 palette cards, 1 quill wheel, 1 bonus action display, 14 white spot tokens, 15 X tokens, 20 double X tokens, 12 bonus action tiles, 1 ink tile bag, 1 X tile token bag, 8 discs for colorblind players, which is good that they've included a bunch of accessibility options here. It's something that Asmodee is usually pretty good with. 1 first player quill token, 1 rule book, 1 solo mode rule, so you can play this solo, and bonus action reference sheet. It is one of the more unique, sit down family games, and you're sort of piecing things together. It's not something I can describe over podcasts. It's something you kind of have to play. Check out a YouTube video. It's very interesting. It's one of the more unique games that I've seen in quite some time. There's also Saltfjord. Now this is more of ages teens and up. It's a multilingual game, and it's also ages 14+. Takes about 60 minutes, 1 to 4 players. So the basic description here is the generations before you have relied on harvesting the oceans. But in the 19th century, things change, and the opportunity to reach the fishing village in northern Norway has changed. Basically, Saltfjord, you must decide if you want to expand your settlement with new buildings, send boats to collect fish, engage in trade, or pioneer new technologies to make everyday life easier. It's set in Norwegian fishing village and is loosely based on the dice drafting mechanisms from Santa Maria. But the game has otherwise been completely redesigned and expanded with new elements. To add to the replayability, the game has lots of variable elements to set up, such as what the special abilities and end scoring tiles are available. It's actually pretty cool. I like that it's not too difficult to get into, but it is something that involves a little more strategy. Kind of like, it's almost like an adaptation. If you want to think of it in a computer game sense, it's a little bit like Civilization sort of ish, but not quite as crazy in depth. You're not playing this for hours on end. You get a good 45-minute session in though. Also, there is Star Wars Super Teams for 2 to 4 players, ages 7+, about a half hour to 45 minutes to play. And this is a strategic race for the whole family. Comes with a bunch of miniatures, a bunch of cards, a game board, movement cards, bonus cards, and then 8 ship figures, 2 in each color. You like Star Wars? Fun for the whole family, board game, something cool there. Also with Star Wars, we have Star Wars Unlimited, the intro battle Hoth. Now this is for 2 players, ages 12+, 15 to 30 minutes or so, and it's learn to play Star Wars Unlimited trading card game. So it's a place to get started. They give you 104 cards, 6 reference cards, 1 game board, 1 info sheet, 1 rule book, 57 damage counters, 2 epic action counters, and 1 initiative counter. This is where you start, and then from there, if you like this game, you can get more expansion packs for it. Something pretty cool for the big Star Wars nerds in your family. And then the final one I want to just quickly mention is Take Time. Now, Take Time is a limited communication cooperative deduction game in which 2 to 4 players work together to solve mysteries, clock puzzles, and you basically are placing cards around a dial. It's for 2 to 4 players, ages 10 plus, 30, 40-ish minutes or so per game. And here you get 12 solar cards numbered 1 to 12, 12 lunar cards numbered 1 to 12, 3 reminder tokens, 3 bonus tokens, 10 chapter sleeves, each containing 4 clocks and 1 rules sheet, 1 clock hand, 1 sleeve of regrets, which is empty at the beginning of the game, 1 rebirth sleeve containing 1 rebirth clock, 1 second hand, and 6 tokens, and of course 1 rule book. It's a beautifully designed art style. It's really reminiscent of almost like Myst to me, like mix Myst with like Age of Wonders, that sort of art style. Really cool stuff. So these are just a bunch of games that Asmodee sent over that I think would make really interesting gifts for your family. Didn't know where to put it directly. Some of these are probably going to end up in the regular gift guide, but there's just a whole bunch here. I'll put links in the description or hand them over to Birdman so that we can get it all in there. Just something. He's got stuff to talk about when it comes to tabletop gaming that is like RPG books. I wanted to give little options of a pretty wide variety of board games and card games that, basically anybody in the whole family can play. So I'm going to send it back to Birdman, and we hope to see you at the dinner table with something like one of these games in the near future.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
Oh my.
Welcome back to the ThisWeekInGeek.net Tabletop Holiday Gift Guide. I am your host, your game master, lore master, game mother. Hey man, you want to play some D&D? I'm that guy. Anyway, so welcome back to the show. So we're going to move on with some kind of rapid fire things, but they are no less cool, but definitely worth checking out. These are kind of like stocking stuffers and kind of like accessories you can get for your games. The first one is actually an interview I did earlier this year with Jeff from Journey Mountain Studios, and these are Galaxy card sets. So if you're running any sort of sci-fi game and you need to randomly generate a planet, a sector, a technology, or whatever, you draw these cards. And I'm like, okay, it's going to be an asteroid graveyard. There's going to be weird spatial phenomenon, and in the planet there are... in the solar system, there are like 5 moons. The star has this luminosity. What unusual traits does it have? And I just think it's really cool. I love bringing physical things to the table. And actually, I found out about these from Guy from Off My Bridge, who used to run the Game Master channel, How to Be a Great Game Master. And when Guy started talking about them, I'm like, yo, I want to check this out. So I contacted Jeff. We did the interview. And honestly, I do have these present when I play my Star Trek games with my group on Thursday nights, which we do every other week. I'm like, okay, cool. Here's what we're doing. And I have cool stuff. And again, they just released a new set, which is, I think, pretty neat. So be sure to say hi to Jeff. Tell him Mike sent you. And yeah, definitely check this out. We have the main website linked, but I think you can also get these on drivethrurpg.com as well. I think that's pretty neat. So another thing that I recommended this week is I contacted this company because I found out about them through Ginny D. She's a very new YouTuber to me. She does a lot of cool Dungeons and Dragons content, a lot of vibey stuff, like not super mechanical build guides, but really good GM advice. She's just a joy to listen to, and I think her advice is very, very, very solid. So one of her sponsors was a company called Brass Dragon Bistro, and these guys are like a candy company. And I know, what does a fat guy need with candy? Well, you already know the answer to that. But they sent us a sample of every single thing that they have. And what I like about this is you can get candies and caramels that do things. And I've just happened to have one in my hand right now. This is from their gelatinous cube collection. This is Fire Fruit. And I'm just going to read it to you. These gelatinous cubes were raised on a diet of organic fire fruit, the definitive ingredient in a myriad of dwarven dishes. Consuming one causes the creature to acclimate to the intense heat of fire and forge. And if you play Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder, it does something. It says, you can consume one of these gummy cubes as a bonus action. When you do so, you have resistance to fire damage. You lose this benefit after you take fire damage once, after you finish a short rest, or after you consume another curious confection. My favorite for these was like, I think it was the Elven Mocha. Let me tell you, I would fight you in the street if I knew it was the last one on Earth. Easily some of the best coffee flavored caramels I've ever had. The Good Berry, because I play a druid, of course, was shit, man. Just so delicious. Like, I could not believe on how good it was. The price is like utterly affordable. And like I said, just incredibly worth it. So you should probably check that out. Once again, you can find them at BrassDragonBistro.com. So this is going to be kind of a 2-for-1 piece and almost a very good companion piece with the first thing that I covered, which was the Dungeons and Dragons Welcome to the Hellfire Club. The company Sirius Dice has a Stranger Things collection, and they have like these dice cups you can get. There's like Vecna, the Demogorgon, the Demodog with Dart, and I think that's everybody. There's like 4 cups either way. But they also have adventure dice based upon different characters, like Will, Eleven, Erica, Mike, Lucas, Dustin. You get the idea. And they're just great themed dice. I actually did a very similar review of their other themed dice earlier this year. But what I like about specifically Will's and Eleven's is their 20s are replaced by something relevant to the season. In Will's case, it's the light bulb when Joyce was out looking for him and he can only communicate from the upside down with the light bulb. And in Eleven's case, it's her hand flung forward because she's sort of like this aberrant mind sorcerer hybrid. In fact, if you know what character classes they are, like I guess Will is now the sorcerer. If that's a spoiler, sorry. Yeah. Let me know on social media. But no, seriously, they are really nice looking dice. I think the dice that I like the most is probably Dustin's, because he's like the Bard class and they're very colorful. Really, really dig them. And the dice cup collection, they have like mini dice inside them, but they're almost like these artistical shot glass sort of things. They're really nice looking though. The Hellfire Club, I think, is going to be the hardest one to find. They are really nice. And my wife is like, for the love of God, Mike, don't break these around the house. And it's kind of hard to not want to show off this stuff, like especially when I start GMing in person again and start doing like conventions again. Yeah, like I think Sirius Dice has something really outstanding here. There's going to be more from them coming up in a future gift guide later on this weekend. You're going to hear something. So really looking forward to checking that out. The next thing I'm going to mention for a stocking stuffer, mostly because it's small, but I want to cover more of these in the future. So this is the Werewolf the Apocalypse character journal from Renegade Game Studios. Now, why do I like this? It's a really nice character journal, first and foremost. Like, here's your stats, here's your sheets, but it has like cheat sheets, like what moon were you born under? What's your auspice? What does your werewolf Krenos form or your hominid form? But it also gives you like writing prompts, like what was your first change like? What gifts do you have? What rights do you know? What does your renown stand for? And it's really neat. Like Werewolf the Apocalypse is one of those games that I loved as a kid, and as an Indigenous person, it speaks to me. And honestly, I'm going to talk about them a little bit more, but having that character journal, if you're willing to take the time to write out who your character is, then you've got something special here, because you can really go kind of hog wild with this. But I think it's awesome. And these character journals are great. I love anything that aids you in the creative process, I'm down for, and you should be too. So these next couple of things are going to be games that are new to me. And the first one I'm going to talk about, I got it via Free League Publishing. They offered it to me earlier this year, and I've watched a couple of videos on this, and I like the vibe of what I've read so far. This is from Free League Publishing and Two Little Mice, and it is the action-adventure game called Outgunned, but there's also another one called Outgunned Adventure. So think of like your John Wicks, your Mission Impossible, your Jack Reachers, but also Indiana Jones, Dick Tracy, The Mummy, all sorts of crazy shenanigan RPG heroes you want to play in your games. Not unlike the Evil Genius games Everyday Heroes that I talked about last year, but this is a hell of a lot simpler. Basically, you can play Yahtzee, you can play this game, which I think is the coolest thing about this, is the system is so easy. Literally, it doesn't matter whether you roll, like all sixes and you need like, the only number that matters is the number on the dice and how many of those you got to match. And it's just, that's the basis of the system right there and done. So they have a bunch of books right now. There's like a couple of, I don't know if I'd call them like adventure paths, but like a introductory campaign. But they also have Outgunned, Outgunned Adventures, Outgunned World of Killers, Outgunned Action Flicks, and Action Flicks Tropes, Volume 2. So if you're willing to lean into the more ridiculous things of like Ethan Hunt and John Wick and Alice from Resident Evil and, all the ridiculous stuff that like Lara Croft pulls off, then yeah, you're really going to dig this. I could see Outgunned being a really awesome convention game. If you said, hey guys, we're playing John Wick, people are going to be like, what? Like, yeah. So you can bring the Continental fighting friggin' Unisols from Universal Soldier. You can do that. I'm into that shit. So that's awesome. You should check that out. The next one, so I didn't get a chance to talk about this earlier in the year because we went on hiatus, but I have had a chance to do a lot of research on this, and I actually liked it so much I went out and bought the physical edition of this. I couldn't get this on Amazon for like the longest time, but I found one in a local bookstore for my birthday. And I'm talking about Daggerheart from Darrington Press. The thing I have listed, if you can't find a physical copy, you can go to the Demiplane website and you can buy your books there and you can print off character sheets and see what all your powers do and all that shit. Daggerheart comes from the creative team of Critical Role. And other people like the Dungeon Dudes just recently ported over Dungeons of Drakkenheim over to the Daggerheart system. And there's a new book that got announced, I think at PAX Unplugged just a couple of weeks ago. Like, things are cooking in the Daggerheart space. And really unique system. It's more narrative than combat. Like, once you get the hang of combat, it flows pretty easy. It's an incredibly interesting system. And I'm going to mention two content creators. If you really want to get the vibe for this, I really recommend you watch the Ginny D video on character creation first, and then watch the Pointy Hat Antonio D'Amico's video on what it's like to run this thing as a game master and what campaign structure looks like. I want to play this so friggin' bad. Like, it's interesting. The fact that I can be like a cat person with like a turtle shell. I can like mix and match ancestries. That is some cool shit. Like, straight up. That is awesome. I'm so into that. You should check this out. Now, this next one, this comes from Skydawn Games, and I can't even remember how I found out about this. I want to say I was browsing either DriveThruRPG or maybe I saw this on Blue Sky. I might have seen this on Instagram. And it harkens back to my video game roots. And this is the Phantasy Star TTRPG. Now, I've known a lot of people who are in the Phantasy Star, Alex included. I knew a kid growing up who was really into it. And I used to read about the Phantasy Star RPGs in stuff like EGM, like the original Sega RPG franchise. And it would be easy to dismiss it as just another 5th edition game, but it's not. And magic works a little bit differently. It's like technique now. You get something called fate points, which I think is really kind of a cool mechanic in there. Your character classes are a little bit different. You've got like androids and shit. If you are a fan of this franchise, I think this is it. Like, I'm kind of surprised this hasn't been done before, but the fact that it's licensed, like, officially, and they cite all their sources, like, they're even talking about the games that were downloaded via satellite. Like, that is some obsessive level of commitment. So, Skydawn Games did a really fantastic job with this. I would love to get into Phantasy Star at some point. Like, maybe I'll go check out one of the older games. I'm sure there's things out there. I know there's, like, people still have, like, Phantasy Star Online shit still going on. So, I think that's cool. That's a new game to me. You should check that out. This next one is a D&D riff, but it's different. I actually talked about with these guys earlier this summer, and that's going to be Humblewood, and that the entire campaign setting from Hit Point Press. Little furry animals fighting for supremacy, and it's interesting, and just the way they handle religion and spirituality and the bird folk, the owl folk, the fox people, mouse people, rabbits. It all sounds like, what if Beatrix Potter meets Conan the Barbarian? It's friggin' awesome. Like, I love it. Like, honestly, when I did the interview with Ricardo and talking with people from Hit Point Press over the last little while, it has just really... It really makes you want to play something different than that, you know, just isn't D&D for a change. It's a rule system that I know, but in a campaign setting that I don't. So there's like a huge box set of this, but there's also tons of support books. They did their huge Kickstarter this year. So yeah, honestly, Humblewood, I think, is an outstanding game, and you should definitely check it out. Okay, so we're going to keep rolling on this train here for funsies. And our next pick is something from Modifius. And this is Star Trek Adventures 2nd Edition. This is the Exploration Guide. I should note, I did not work on this. This came as a very, very pleasant surprise to me. But Jim, Aaron, Michael Dismuke, Al Spader, and I'm sure, and Aaron Paulier, everybody that I know who works on Star Trek worked on this book. I didn't get asked to, but that's okay. This would be an awesome companion to the Galaxy deck, but this helps you build sectors and planets and solar systems and biomes in seconds, which is, I think, really awesome. Like, this is a great companion piece to Captain's Log. Sorry. Which is the solo RPG for Star Trek. But again, just having all this figured out and having like all these different planets explain different like origins and stuff you can take for your character's career and career milestones. It's pretty awesome. Like, if you want to play an archaeologist like Vash from Star Trek The Next Generation, you can do that. Why does Captain Picard know so much about this stuff? Well, because he was this. So again, yeah, I think it's really awesome. You can get this book in print right now. It's pretty wicked. I really, really like it. The next one, we're going to go back to our good friends over at Wizards of the Coast, and this is a book that came out earlier this year, and that's the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, 2024 edition Monster Manual. I love some of the new monsters. There's like a blob of annihilation. I think my favorite thing is this weird fungal zombie thing that can like suck you in and like poison you. Like, I almost wiped out a party with just 2 of these things, and we were level 8 characters. And if it wasn't for my friend Nick's casting of Banish, that combat could have went real south real fast. Sorry, folks. I'm tired, so I'm like fighting. I'm drinking G Fuel as I do this, so I'm trying to keep perky, because working on this gift guide was honestly an awful lot of work. I don't think I've read this much since like college, so it was a real intense time. But no, seriously, the Monster Manual for 2024 changes things up, gives you more humanoid enemies. There's like a crime lord that I use as like a high level humanoid bad guy because he gets like guns and shit. It can hit you super hard. There's like more skirmishers. There's like a bandit sorcerer guy that like throws down like flashbangs. And I've honestly had a pretty good time using those guys. I really, really enjoy it. It's a pretty solid book. You can usually find a sale in and around now, but if not, it's never too late to ask jolly old Saint Nick there. This next one came to me through a sponsorship, not through me, but of a YouTuber that I really like called D&D Shorts. And they were advertising Roll for Combat. And the thing, it's called Battle Zoo, and you get like all these different books. And what I like about them is the one book that really kind of caught my attention was, I actually have it open on my computer right now. I'm just trying to make sure I can get to the proper sheet here. And it was Battle Zoo Ancestry's Classic Creatures. So it's playing as demons and doppelgangers, nymphs, oni, and, you know, slimes and stuff like that. And gremlins, intelligent weapons, mimics, even as a living dungeon, which is so anime, I don't even know how to explain that shit. But the fact that they gave me my beloved nymph, not because I'm that guy, but I think it's cool. And like kind of give you lore as to how these people have done these things, why they are the way they are, insight into their societies, and utterly fantastic artwork. Another book that they sent me was, I'm just going to pull it up here. Basically, it is the Battle Zoo Ancestry's Dragons. Yeah, you're playing as dragons, but not giant, like, screw you, gargantuan size. No, you're a dragon that's shrunk down to roughly humanoid size, but there's like cerulean dragons, brine dragons, bliss dragons, cloud, like all sorts of different like variants. There's even like a piece of artwork for the copper dragons. It's a dragon wielding pistols. So if you want to be John Wick with wings, you can do that. That's really amazing. Another one they do is they give you this other one that I'm a big fan of, and it's a new monster book, and it's called the Battle Zoo Bestiary. And it's just weird new monsters. There's like a thing that looks like a gnoll and a centaur, this like sentient, like, I think it's called like a butcher cube. It's like a mimic that looks like an abattoir or something, and just weird monsters and just stuff that I really want to throw at my players so they don't see what the hell's coming at them. Like I said, I think it's really awesome. Now, as of this recording, I only have access to the PDFs. I have contacted Roll for Combat. I'm supposed to get physical books, and I'm supposed to get more PDFs in the future. We're going to do an interview with these guys at some point next year, and I really am looking forward to chatting with these guys. Like this, a lot of your players are not going to be able to metagame this shit because they won't see it coming. Obviously, don't just spring it on them because you're a jerk. But no, like seriously, Roll for Combat and their like Battle Zoo collection, it's really awesome. I did not expect to like it as much as I did. They even have a book. I didn't get a chance to look too far into it, but you can basically introduce like Pokemon type rules, and you guys know how much of like a Pokemon Go player I am, so that's kind of cool. Maybe Rangers finally won't suck. But yeah, I think that's awesome. So please check out those guys from Roll for Combat for their 5th edition. But most of their games are also compatible with Pathfinder as well. This next one is going to be going back to Wizards of the Coast, and it's their newest release. It's the Heroes of Faerun and the Adventures of Faerun. Bunch of new subclasses, bunch of new spells, new feats and stuff like that. There's even a book that kind of vibes on Asterion from Baldur's Gate 3. Reason I like this, it's world setting stuff. So, hey, what does the worship of Shanthea look like? What happens in the Cloakwood? Like, what happens with this kingdom? It fills out enough of the blank spaces that I have from an official source, but if you want to read more, It'll point you towards a wiki. It gives you enough that I think it's very interesting. And some of the new feats on it, feats are pretty neat. You could definitely make some very interesting builds in there. I have them in physical form. The alt covers look really nice. And I also have them on D&D Beyond as well. And I think we've started to integrate some of these feats into some of the newer characters we've been kind of playing with. So I think they're very, very neat. Moving on to my next selection for a source book. This one should come as no surprise. And in fact, you're probably surprised it's taken even this long to get this far. Transformers. That's right. I love the Essence 20 role-playing game system. And earlier this year, I want to say in September, they released the Transformers 1 source book. So if you want to have cogless Transformers, if you want to do things just before the true civil war broke out between the Autobots and the Decepticons, you can do that. There's stature characters like Prowl, Ironhide, Sunstreaker, before they got their transformation cogs, but even characters like Darkwing, Arachnid, D16, aka Megatron, Soundwave, Starscream, all the stars are here. And it's a different campaign setting and a different vibe. I'm really excited to see what Renegade Game Studios does next with this license. I'm personally hoping for Energon Trilogy, or Transformers Animated, or Transformers Prime. What I would really love to see is an IDW book on the aligned continuity. That would be pretty neat. But no, seriously, it's really, really good. So I like it a lot. Just having new character options and new threats is always a thing, with new origin perks and new roles and everything. It's worth it. If you've bought every Transformers book, this will just complete your collection. And I like how the Transformers line from Renegade is not so large that you can't have everything. So if you're a person like me who loves Transformers, and believe me, I got a lot today, I think it's worth your time to check out. The next book I'm going to talk about is, once again, coming from Renegade. And I don't get a chance to talk about this one too much, but it's the G.I. Joe role-playing game, and that is Hawk's Personal Files. This reads like a toy catalog. Like, here is Snake Eyes, Rock and Roll, Doc, Spirit, Quick Kick, all the Joe characters that have been released over the years. Not as many threats in this one, but definitely Joes, and at different eras of play. So if you wanted to combine this, because you can, with some of the Transformers stuff, you could literally recreate the Transformers Marvel Comics run. You could recreate the Action Force run, which was the European and English run of the comics. You can do that. I think it's really neat just to have different G.I. Joe characters from different times in their career. It gives you, again, new origins, perks, and stuff like that too. So you can recreate your Joe as a more raw green recruit, all the way up to someone who would fight along, Shipwreck, Duke, Flint, and General Hawk, stuff like that. Again, super, super cool. I dig the vibe of it, and just the presentation for that book is, not even kidding, like second to none. Like I said, it looks like a toy catalog. The artwork is all there. A lot of love went into it from a clear person who loves the IP of G.I. Joe, so definitely worth checking out for sure. The next one that I'm going to talk about, again, we're going to go back to Hit Point Press. And they sent me this book because I didn't quite know what to expect of it. And then a friend of mine that I used to work with on a website once upon a time had mentioned it. I'm thinking, hey, I'm going to check this out. And it's the Field Guide to Floral Dragons. And I got the 5th edition version. Once again, this comes to us from Hit Point Press. What a gorgeous little box set cube thing. It has the book that describes the different types of floral dragon, stuff that's based on flowers. I wish I could remember the specific name of this dragon, but I remember the flavor text specifically. And it talks about a dragon who's protected by these dragons. They've been hunted down to almost extinction. So druids are keeping them under their protection and breeding them in captivity so they never die. And another dragon talks about this woman wanted to create a more powerful familiar. All she had was this dumb toad. And she she made a mistake and she almost killed her toad, and she's like, oh God, I have to work fast to like save this thing. And she created this new, I wouldn't call it an abomination, but this new type of life. And she's like, well, this is what you are now. But it comes with like a little game master screen, these like little art cards, and just a fantastic book of lore and setting and stats. It's unlike anything I've ever seen before. Like, I could honestly see this if you worked this in with like a druid campaign, either for Pathfinder, D&D. I mean, it would take some work to convert these creatures to other game systems, but it's really kind of impressive. And again, just the presentation of the books themselves, like it's like this gold foil, because I got the collector's edition, I want to say. It's really amazing. Like, I really hope Hit Point Press is able to convert some of these creatures to D&D Beyond, like they did with like Humblewood and Griffin's Saddlebag. It's really kind of awesome. I did not expect to like this as much as I did. I'm glad my friend Ella is really enjoying this. I'm like, yo, you have no idea how cool Hit Point Press is. Okay, so we've got just a few more things to talk about before I am done for today. And these are some older games that I think deserve a look. And they're both from the World of Darkness. I'm going to talk about one a little bit more than the other. And mostly because of the connection that I have. But I also started really reading into it. So, Renegade Game Studios is now the rights holder for World of Darkness stuff, at least in the TTRPG space. And the game I'm going to recommend, because it's very small, but I think it's the most impactful today. And I will fully admit there's definitely a indigenous line of thought going through this. It's Werewolf the Apocalypse. And honestly, there isn't a bad source book among them. I might recommend the Moonlit Path, I want to say. And I think it's Wormtide if I had to pick two books to get from this. But honestly, everything, including the Storyteller's Kit, very, very legit. Long story short, the story of Werewolf the Apocalypse is you are a creature that is both man and beast, spirit and flesh. And the world is dying. What are you going to do about it? And it speaks a lot to a lot of my indigenous themes. Obviously with my spirituality with Wagoosh, which is the fox, my bear clan, which is Muckwa. So when I say Odaisy Bang and Nestakos Muckwa Dotem, I am Heart of the River clan bear. I would be able to recite in Guru, which is what werewolves are called in the World of Darkness, what is my tribal name. And I even threw some prompts at like an AI thing. I'm like, I'm curious, what could we do here? And it was like, you are Fox Stormwatcher. One who watches the prophecies of the land and acknowledges the heartbeat of the first forest. And I'm thinking, holy crap, now you've got some ideas flowing here, and that kind of generated a campaign I hope to play someday. But yeah, Werewolf the Apocalypse has always been one of those games I've always appreciated. And this reinterpretation of, obviously, the wild, the worm, the weaver. I'm throwing a lot of terms at you, but it's so well done. And with your character journal that I recommended earlier, you could really create some powerful environmental stories. So if you're ready to channel your rage and really take it to those that are destroying Mother Earth in the name of meaningless scripts of paper, or perhaps take down agents of the worm like the Black Spiral Dancers, then you need to check this out. However, sometimes you're not lucky enough to be born a werewolf. You are not kin. Sometimes you see something so horrible and you decide no more. And that's when you decide you have taken up the creed of the hunter and you are introduced to the world of Hunter the Reckoning. And that is another game that is very much in line with fight monsters. Sort of like, you're not as powerful as someone like, say, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But, a werewolf with a minigun full of hot silver lead is still going to drop dead when you pump it full of rounds, or when you throw an ultraviolet grenade into a nest full of La Sombra Sabbat bastards. I think it's cool. I really dig Hunter the Reckoning. Now, it is not the game that I remember from the Time of Judgment when the World of Darkness is really getting into its end game, but it's different enough that I'm willing to take a look at. I do have a good chunk of the books. I would recommend with Hunter the Reckoning, maybe pick up the core rule book, see what you think, and then sort of fill out, like, do you want any of the additional Creed books and stuff like that. Again, I do like the idea of monsters being beaten back by ordinary people who've decided enough is enough. This is my world, not yours. I dig that. And then the final game I'm going to recommend today, this one will not be available until next year, but you can still back it early through the Pledge Manager on Kickstarter. I want to say at least as of this recording. It's going to come out in July of next year. You can still download the Quick Start rules for this, and that's going to be the Invincible RPG done by Robert Kirkman. I interviewed Thomas and Adam just a couple of weeks ago, and this game sounds sick. Very much built upon the same engine that powers Alien and other Year Zero games. I want to say stuff like Monkborg and all that stuff. It looks awesome. Like, I already have like a character in mind, like this shape-shifting indigenous warrior who's kind of like a druid but a ghost warrior I've kind of created in my head called Warblood. It's going to be awesome. Like, seriously, I love the idea that it kind of channels the brutality of the Invincible universe. So you're not like a wuss like Rexplode fighting on Viltrumites, but you could be. But there's different level as like a fledgling hero, street level, Guardians of the Globe, and then you're fighting like galactic threat bullshit. It's cool. Like, I'm more than 3/4 of the way through season 2, going into season 3, and then 4 when that comes out in, I want to say, March. Either way, it's awesome. I really think you should check this out. So that comes to us from Free League Publishing. And guys, that's going to do it for me. Like I said, I hope I didn't miss anybody. I'm going to have a couple more books I'm going to mention in the main holiday gift guide this year. But Hasbro literally just sent me a metric crap ton of Transformers to my door in like the last couple of hours. So now I have to rewrite everything. So a good problem to have. But seriously, guys, thank you for allowing me to indulge in this hobby. Big thank you to every company who reached out and offered support and sent us books. I'm looking forward to talking with companies like Roll for Combat. I'm looking forward to chatting with Free League Publishing again. I'm sure I'll have Al and Aaron on from Modifius. I know they got a new game that's been out for a little bit. I think it's called Redacted. So yeah, guys, I guess before I take off, and if you only listen to this one and don't listen to the main TWIG holiday gift guide, first off, how dare you? I just want to say, guys, have a safe and happy holiday. Always practice good ethics at your tables. Treat everybody well. Don't become a horror story on D&D Doge. My favorite story YouTuber. So tell him I say hi. And check out some of the other video content creators like I mentioned, like Jenny D, Pointy Hat. Big fan of learning about some of these sponsors from other content creators like the Dungeon Dudes and D&D Shorts. Yeah, it's been a fantastic year to roll some dice with you guys. I'm looking forward to doing more. I promise I will not neglect my Patreon as much in 2026. But yeah, seriously, guys, I thank all of you for such a wonderful year in the TTRPG space. I'm looking forward to seeing you more at conventions later on this year. So until next time, guys, I've been Mike the Birdman saying be excellent to each other. We'll catch you guys again next time right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
I've never trusted that jolly fat man.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at ThisWeekInGeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@ThisWeekInGeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.